Okay, continuing the launch of the phase two of my style library. So in addition to this, there's actually several other videos because there's so many new capabilities added to this library. And there's actually a lot more coming, but this group will be considered phase two. And I'll be doing continuous updates, obviously adding a lot more stuff. But this one in particular is related to the new interactive style. So I've kind of done some sneak peeks and some previews, and there's a couple of smaller interactive styles already in the library. But the really big bulk of the interactive stuff is actually yet to come. The first of them is going to be the ThunderCats, the Sword of Omens style that I previewed several months ago. The interactive styles, essentially what they are is they're actually styles that wait or take action based on what you're doing with the blade, meaning that they don't just automatically do anything. In particular, the Sword of Omens from the original 80s cartoon, when Lion-O would need to extend the sword, is he would do 3 swings, and that would extend the blade each time a third of its length until it got the full length. So this particular interactive style, this version of it, has that effect built in. Now, interactive styles do have some extra, obviously they're set up a little bit differently than other styles. And part of it is what's for certain ones is going to be this timer. So as I add new interactive styles, you're going to see different types of timers or different types of options on the main screen. This particular one has an interactive timer. That's the duration of time in this case for the you to do the 3 swing actions. If you don't do those actions within that time, the blade will ignite itself. And that's just so that you don't get stuck with the blade being turned off. I actually originally set it up to run based on the length of the out-dot wavelength. But if you have a really short out-dot wavelength, meaning you don't have the one that's actually using the spoken part from the cartoon or a really long one, you won't have enough time to do the 3 swings needed to ignite your blade. So it'll just ignite itself. So 22 seconds is about the time that I've tested out that the actual cartoon of him saying the 3 Thundercats happens. So it defaults to 22 seconds, which is 2200 milliseconds. If you want to use the out-dot wave, change this to 0. It'll auto time to your out-dot wave. But if you have a really short one, you're not going to have time to do the action. Now, part of the reason for the delay on the interactive effects is time. The other part was being able to properly show them. So the new capability of preview that I've built in, and I'm using the style editor code. So this uses the style editor code from Frederick, which is currently in beta. Everything here is in beta. So if anything doesn't work, use the link here to post about it on the Crucible. The library phase 2 is in beta. Technically, the library itself, the original was still in beta, and the style editor as well as the code for preview is in beta, meaning that there could still be bugs that we just haven't encountered yet. If you encounter them, just report them here. So this blade style is unique in that the ignition is actually going to be built into the style. So you want to keep it set at an instant for the ignition. If you set an ignition effect here, you will overlap with the interactive capabilities. So you don't want to do that for this particular blade style. So the new controls, I do have a separate video on them, but basically you can control blade angle, twist angle, you can control swing speed, class strength, and battery level for when you want to see what the effects are going to do, because everything related to responsive, hyper responsive, and interactive takes in all of these data points in real time, meaning as you move the blade, as you twist your handle, as you're swinging it or accelerating through the swing, or how hard you hit it is actually going to affect what happens. So there's also a swing button here. This is particularly for the interactive effects. Now you can do it 2 ways. So I'm going to do it both ways. So when you first ignite your blade, you're going to get the eye of Mandera. And then if I swing, 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 I get my ignition. And you can do it at any time you want. And that interactive timer is at play. So if I don't get those 3 swings in within the 2 seconds, it will show what happens. So now I'm going to just hit power, and I'm not going to actually do any swings. And it's just going to wait because it's waiting for me to interact with it. But it will, when that 22 seconds elapses that I set, it's going to actually end up igniting itself. And 22 seconds is a long time when you're waiting for it on a video, apparently. There we go. So that was 22 seconds. And you can change that timing if that's too long for you. All right. And then the other way to do it, so you can do it, what you want to do in this control is you can slide it, but for swing, you want to click up to a point and then click back to 0. That's to mimic as if you swang and stopped. If you want to just really quickly do swings, this does full swing strength, and it's for as long as the button's depressed. So if I hit power, click it once, 1 swing, click it twice, 2 swings, click it a third time, 3 swings. That's my ignition. So this lets you interact with the interactive styles. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get the preview in here, was so you can understand what these effects actually translate to. Now there's a lot more interactive stuff coming, and some of them are going to be pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. So this is only the beginning point. Another piece with the Sword of Omens is it is using a modified shimmer blade, which means while your blade is sitting still, it's pretty static. But if you start to move it, you'll get a little bit of motion in the effect. And the amount of motion and the duration of the motion is based on how quickly you accelerate and how much you swing. So if you want to see what it'll look like if you do a really fast and hard swing, and it takes time for it to settle. So the settling back is based on the actual acceleration and the duration of your swing. And that's part of that hyper responsive capability. So if you want to kind of mimic that, you can just use this button, and you'll see it went full up, and you'll actually watch this bar move. So as long as I hold it, so that was a quick click. Now, as long as I hold it, you'll see that bar move up to the top and then stop. So this guy moved, and that adds more momentum to the blade. So it'll take a little bit longer to settle. And that's how the blade actually reacts, is if you swing really fast and hard and stop, it actually takes itself time to settle back. If you do smaller movements, it'll obviously, so if I just do small movement and back, it'll return to normal pretty quickly. And that's part of that whole hyper-responsive family of effects. And that's part of the new hyper-responsive audio flicker. That's part of the shimmer blade. There's a few other styles as well. So the new preview is going to let you test all that out and actually see how it really works. So that's the biggest piece of this, is that in the past and in other boards, swing effects are while you're swinging. With hyper responsive, it's actually the swing triggers the effect, but the duration and the intensity of the effect is actually based on a combination of things. So it's based on how quickly you swing it, the change in speed, which is the acceleration, and the duration. So it's applying all of that. So every time you do it, it's actually reacting to all of that. It's not just you swing it, it turns white, you stop swinging, it turns back to its color. It's building up momentum into the blade. So the effects are really, really responsive, and they're meant to be. But lots more coming. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this particular style. There is an option if you don't like the Eye of Thunder. It's a black mark with or it's a black eye with a red surrounding. You can get it without the eye, and it does the exact same thing. So this is just essentially the main blade. It's not going to do anything until I swing, but you can get the same exact thing without the Eye of Thunder if you prefer. So a lot more coming. There's actually a couple other options for interactive capabilities, even on this style, that I still have to build. But definitely check it out. Definitely play around with the new library, report any issues you come up with, and hope you enjoy.